Hello friends, and glad to have you back. So in this lesson, let's go ahead and look at another morph example, but looking at morphs and deformers and how you can literally morph an object into another object by using deformers. So let's get rid of this. So I'll just delete this and I'll create a vector level. And what I'll do is just turn this off so we can have a clean slate to work with. So let's say we have a shape that looks like this. Looks like the letter I. And like I showed in the previous example, let's say for example we have two counter shapes. So let's say a shape that looks like this and another shape that looks like this. And this shape is going to be moving in this direction while this one is moving in this direction. So what's going to happen is by the time, and imagine this point is sort of like fixed. So by the time this moves and start pushing this edge and this pushing this edge, we're going to have a shape that looks somewhat like this. So let me just draw this again, and we're going to have like that and like that. It's going to start looking like a little S because this shape has now moved in and pushed this guy here, and this shape has pushed this guy here. And by the time this shape keeps moving in, let's say it has now moved to a point where this shape here has now gone past, say, this point, our object is now going to be looking like this then, right? We could just do that and say, hey, you're now looking like this because you've been pushed here and you've been pushed here. And if it reaches a point where our object is still getting, more forces pushing it, it'll reach a point where our shape is going to be looking like this actually. Like that. So you can actually look at a little trend here, how this is transitioning into another shape by using imaginary shapes. We can even say, hey, you know what? We can use a larger shape that is pushing or deforming. So let's say example, we have a deformer like this on a shape that looks like this. I will start moving this towards the right like that, and what's going to happen is our shape is going to start looking like this, like a D, because this gentleman has begun to go in, and the more it keeps pushing, the more this curve is going to have its extreme distortion like that. So whenever you're morphing, think about having a shape push the object, just like we had in this example, right? So you can think about, hey, there's actually a square, 4 square shapes. Let's just move here. There are actually 4 square shapes that have eventually succeeded in pushing this object in all 4 directions, right? You can think about it that way, or you can just have fun creating random morphs. So that's just a random morph talk. We haven't seen an example. Let's just go ahead and see another example. And this time around, we're going to morph a leaf into a nice push-up object. And what do I mean by push-up object? Let's just move to this frame and show you what we want to do. So we have a nice little plant. We can use a rose flower with some petals like that. Cute little petals. It has a nice little stem, has a leaf here, and then we want to morph this into this, a weight lift, a mini weight lift. So I'll just try as much as I can to imagine how a handheld dumbbell looks like. And I'll use the hand tool to drag this, go back to the brush tool. By the way, to get to the hand tool, you could just use the space bar. So that's a shortcut for the hand tool, like that. So we want to morph between this shape to this shape, like that. And what we can do is to begin to imagine how this shape is going to change to this shape. So this is thicker. Let's think about something here. I'll just use a new level on top so we don't. And I'll change this to blue. So if we look at this, I'll just bring it back the onion skin on this guy. So if we think about it, this is a thin section. If this is thin and this is fat, right here is fat, we can imagine the thin section merging to a fat section. And then we can imagine these leaves, the petals, collapsing into a cylindrical shape at the top. And that's basically how we're going to morph the object. We can morph in parts, which we're going to do in the next lesson because I don't want to overwhelm you with the technicalities. So let's go ahead and see how we can morph this rose into a weight. And for clarity, I'm going to delete this, or I'll just leave it and set my timeline marker to 2, basically dragging this white triangular handle to 2 so that it's going to just loop between that point instead of me deleting that for reference later. So see you guys in the next lesson.